Hello and welcome to the Storytelling for the Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Kanata, and this is the place we talk about all things expressive writing and other creative techniques, all with a little bit of Buffy the Vampire Slayer thrown in. Buckle up and enjoy. Hello and welcome back to another episode. I hope life is treating you exceptionally well whenever you are listening to this. As you've probably guessed from the episode title, today I want to explore the notion that essentially whatever we go looking for or go searching for, we ultimately find. Now, this concept is triggered by some personal reflection and awareness. So, as I record this, I am very cognizant that I am a little bit on edge or anxious about a couple of things happening next week. Now, my anxiety about these things, my nervousness about these things really doesn't help. In fact, this is really the crux of this episode. It's reiterating that manifestation works for everything. It doesn't just work for the things that we desire. And I know this is a little bit woo-woo. And if you don't believe in manifestation or the law of attraction, maybe you can think of this just more in terms of attitude and how you approach up, how you show up to different phases and stages in your life and certain circumstances. But if you do believe in manifestation, I do want to reiterate that manifestation works for both the things that we perceive as being positive and desired. For example, I want to manifest a new house. I want to manifest $1 million business. I want to manifest, who knows? Enter whatever is in your mind. We're all different. We all have different desires, needs, wants. On the flip side, and look, we all have negativity bias. It's part of being human. The reality is that we will always recall or attach more to negativity and negative things in life than the more positive side of things. And I think this is just my prediction. I think that's why most of us, myself included, actually have more luck manifesting the things that we don't want. Because even though we're thinking of them from this stance of not wanting them, our energy is flowing to the things that we don't want. Now let's put this into a really practical example. Say you're someone who suffers from anxiety. This is something that is normal. Many of us suffer with anxiety. Of course, I'm not talking about the kind of anxiety that prevents you from living a normal, healthy, and when I say normal, it's in air quotes, a normal, healthy life. Everything exists on a spectrum, regardless of what we're talking about. But say we have anxiety about a particular event. Now, anxiety typically begins before the event. And if you're listening to this, I would like you to acknowledge that all we really ever have is the present moment. All I can impact as a human being living in this world in 2024 is right now. Because I'm a human, I have memory, which means that I can think back to my childhood. I can think back to the best times of my life, the worst times of my life. That's all in the past. I can't do anything about it. It's just there. It kind of informs everything else I do because that's the way humans work. And then there's a future, which is completely outside of our control. The future is the future. All we have is right now and this moment. However, if you're someone who's a little bit anxious, and let's use a really practical example that most people would be able to relate to. Let's say you're anxious about making a speech at a wedding. Maybe you're the best man or something like that. You know that at the reception in the evening, you have to stand up and make a speech that hopefully is entertaining, funny, and you don't pass out in the meantime. So the anxiety around this speech doesn't just start, for most people, an hour or two before the speech. It starts months, weeks, days before. All of your energy is flowing into worst case scenario. And then, of course, worst case scenario ensues. And then what happens is we tell ourselves things like, I'm bad at public speaking, I'm ashamed of myself, I'm a failure, what's wrong with me? I can't even stand up and just speak in front of people. But actually, what's happened is that we've manifested the worst possible result. Now, if you don't vibe with the whole manifestation concept, just think about this in terms of how you show up to things and the attitude you show up with. So, for example, let's say that you're in a job that is not exactly your dream job, and you have a meeting that you know you have to go to. If you want to be employed, you've got to go. There's nothing else to it. So you can either show up to this meeting and be completely miserable, or you can show up to this meeting with the understanding that this isn't your forever job. You're going to take the learnings, you're going to contribute what you can, and that will be that. To me, that's an attitude thing. Now, if you're not vibing with the anxiety example, think about something that's really more practical. Let's say that you've got your heart set on a certain car. I'm not good with cars. I don't own a car. I don't really care about cars. I'm very fortunate enough to live in a place where if I want to go somewhere, mostly I can either get an Uber or catch the public transport. But let's say you've got your heart set, and let's go for something completely unrealistic for the majority of us. Say, and mainly because this just happens to be a car make and model that I actually am aware of. Let's say you want a red Ferrari. So it's actually probably a poor example because there aren't that too many red Ferraris around. But let's just say you want a normal, average Ford blue car, make up whatever model you want. Suddenly, you're on the road and you keep on seeing this car over and over and over again. And then maybe a friend asks you, well, how many Toyotas did you see? And you can't answer because your attention, your focus hasn't been on Toyotas. It's been on this car that you've desired. So really, when you think about your life like this, whatever we're looking for, we will find. If we're looking for evidence that we haven't healed, if we're looking for evidence that we're an anxious person who's not good at enter whatever your thing is, everyone is wildly different. If you want to find that you're not worthy because of X, Y, and Z, you will find it. And here's my challenge to you, because actually skewing towards worst case scenario and all the things that could possibly go wrong for most of us is easy because we're actually attached to negativity. Because even if things do go right and we experience what we perceive as joy, happiness, whatever word we relate to, there's always the flip side of what about when things don't go my way? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I lose it all? So much of this is part of the human condition, but there are fleeting moments where we can make a conscious decision and a conscious choice. As always, I'd love to hear your experiences, thoughts, comments, and reflections. If you are going through something that's truly challenging and difficult at the moment, please know life is messy. Things will change. And inevitably, I believe in you to get through anything. I'll see you in the next episode.